Stadia is in the news today, everybody, and it's because they're actually going to be shutting down their game development studio. And this is big news, and I want to get into this with you guys right now. So the news just broke the other day that Google is going to be shutting down its Stadia game development studios that were housed in Montreal as well as Los Angeles. Now, this doesn't mean that Stadia itself as a platform is shutting down. It just means that Stadia is going to be stopping any development, anything going on with trying to make their own games in-house. This is one of the big things that they made at the announcements originally when Stadia was coming out, was that not only were they going to support third-party developers for games like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed and all of those games, but they were also going to be building their own game studios in-house to bring their original exclusive gaming content. And this is something that Google is clearly discovering, that this is not something that they want to invest in long term and that they don't want to go down this path. What do you all think about Google and Stadia shutting down its in-house game development? Do you think that this is a big blow to Stadia? For anybody that is actually using Stadia themselves, how are you finding your experience, and how does it compare to that of like Game Pass and the xCloud and being able to play games remotely? I know that for games like Cyberpunk, for a lot of people on their PCs and using Stadia, they found that Cyberpunk was actually very stable, unlike what we experienced on all of our consoles. So Stadia is a platform for gamers and for people to be able to go on and play a game like Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed, and so on. It's still going to be there and viable as an option. But I really wonder what this is going to mean long-term for Google and their investment and dipping their toe into gaming and really focusing in on gaming. If they're going to drop the game studios and not have any new properties developed in-house, original titles, it seems like they are just going to go down the path of just licensing out the service as a cloud-based service for people to be able to access. I think the one thing that Stadia could do is that long-term they could, in fact, look at other developers, console makers, manufacturers, anybody like that, and say, hey, do you want our cloud-based streaming platform, and be able to use its network and infrastructure for whatever it is that they're trying to market? Because the Stadia platform and the idea and what they have built behind it it's fantastic. It revolutionizes gaming in a lot of ways, but you can see where Google is kind of stopping and pulling the brakes a little bit and just kind of backing off of this whole train. Meanwhile, Xbox, for example, is constantly doubling down, tripling down by acquiring more studios like Bethesda, really focusing in on xCloud, focusing in on Game Pass, and having that service available across PC, mobile, and their consoles. And this is where I think Stadia is probably going to have a lot of their trouble long term. It's really difficult for someone like me, if you are like me, where I have my consoles, and I'll just say Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, I have on my Series X. Love it, beautiful, runs really well, love all the updates to it. And then if I wanted to get it on Stadia, I have to go and buy that title at a premium, at a full price, be able to enjoy it. And I'm kind of picking my battles here going, well, do I really want to be able to have that minor option of playing on my PC through Stadia and it's cloud-based? Or do I just want to use it on my console or play it on my phone if I want to be able to jump in that way? I think that Xbox is really starting to show where it's going to have its strides long term and be able to kind of have a leg up on the competition when it comes to cloud-based gaming. What I worry about on Google's side is that they tend to make these large investments and they don't always follow through if they're not getting this giant return right up front. And I think because Stadia had so many glitches and issues right out of the gate, that's really impacting players and fans that are really wanting to be able to have this platform expand. But let me know what you all think. Do you think that Stadia is going to have long-term problems where they're not going to be able to recover from this? Do you think that they're just going to be kind of a third option out there, a fourth option for between Steam and Xbox and PlayStation? And in 3 to 5 years, are we still going to be talking about Stadia as an alternative to all our cloud-based gaming? I think what it might show Google as a whole is that, and the Stadia team, is how much actually really goes into having to create and develop your own gaming studios. And I think that's where Phil Spencer and the team over at Microsoft are, as an example, they're doing it in a good way by acquiring studios that are already built, developed, and have games kind of in the pipeline that they can just acquire them under their umbrella of Game Pass and allow gamers to experience them there under Xbox. And so those Bethesda games become, really associated with Xbox and playing with Game Pass. And I think that's where long term where Stadia is probably gonna have a lot of problems if they're trying to play and release, Doom on their Stadia platform. Why would I do that when I have it on Game Pass and I'm going to get it for free or built into my subscription versus another subscription on top for the same content, and it might not run as well? So is Stadia dead in the water? I don't know. It's going to be too early to tell, and time will tell if it is going to go down the path of anything else that's going to kind of fall apart. But guys, let me know what you think. Is it going to be over for Stadia? Do you think that this hinders them at all? Really, really curious of what you all think. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Matt. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, thank you guys for assembling with us. See ya.